Nathan,
Yes.
the AI wants to launch nukes.
Of course it does.
Should this be a surprise to anyone?
We've had enough movies and pop culture, I think, to tell us.
Should
pre-warn us,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. All right, so this comes from an article that crossed my feed where they say, a new study finds that AI models consistently escalated to war and would deploy nukes without warning in a serious conflict simulations. Now, there's not a lot of information on it other than that. They just say it's from this other thing. It's just a headline, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they've already done like simulations like this with computers, and it kind of resulted in that anyway. And they're just hijacking off of the AI fear craze at the moment to just push it a bit further. But even if it was, right, say this is the result of them testing this with the more recent AI large language models, okay? Should it surprise us?
Well, I don't know, because my impression with these doomsday things is I like the stories where the AI gets confused, because it says, you know, destroy all humans, but there's no humans to destroy, so I can destroy them if there's no humans. And then they start getting stuck in a loop of like, ugh. So with these like World War prompts of like destruction, it's like, well, what is the AI's objective in that? Is it to win a war? Is it to stop calamity? Like, is it to save humanity? I don't know.
Well, you're kind of already touching on what I feel is kind of the easy answer to this, and that is you keep it in a box, you enslave it, and you do not, let it do anything outside of the box. And I am 100% on board with that.
Yes.
So what is interesting, because when you were saying about it getting confused and stuff, there's kind of already examples of it. I've heard report that Microsoft was working on an AI large language kind of model in the sense, the same with Google Gemini, but they were causing it to act in so many contradictory ways, like we don't want you to be racist. By the way, only produce diversity, equity, inclusion, prioritize these results and stuff like that. And it got so many contradictory things that they ended up bricking the AI and permanently ruining it, right? Yes. And they had to just scrap it entirely.
Like, I don't think AI is going to be our destruction. I also think that we're kind of plateauing a bit in terms of AI technology. I'm fingers crossed, because if it gets any more advanced than this, then I will be kind of more afraid. But I think we're kind of reaching a precipice with it where it's like we're going to start seeing it slow down a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much stuff blown out of proportion with AI technology generally. Like, even calling it AI is completely inaccurate. This is not artificial intelligence. This is like really advanced predictive text and generative tools, visual generative tools, okay? That's essentially, now, that's probably dumbing it down too much, but the large language models, the way they work, right, and many people probably don't know this, is that by training it on large kind of examples of inputs,
of data, basically.
Data, which is basically text, large bulk things of text, and then when it can analyze it on a large scale, and then through its neural network, build an association between words, that this word, right, comes up this percentage of likelihood when it's following this word and then this sentence before it. And it's very complex and sophisticated, but that's how it's working. And that's why it's kind of glorified predictive text, but in a really advanced way where it can understand context better. It's like, all right, it doesn't really make sense that you would start with this word after this following, because it can then understand context. This sentence seems to be talking about a thing called driving. And then if I want to tell you that to drive, you need to put the foot down on the pedal, it would be wrong to tell you about unicycles or something like that, right? So its understanding of context is very impressive, right? But there is no actual awareness of what these things mean. It's not intelligent. I think it'll get to a point where it could mimic intelligence pretty convincingly. It already kind of is. It's pretty convincing. And the worry and concern that I've actually talked about a lot is that humans can humanize anything really easily.
Yes.
You give a name to a pencil, right? And people will get sad when you break it in two, right? And I remember this as a kid. I gave names for my toys and my teddies and stuff, and I would talk to them and I would pretend they're real. And I think we even do this to our pets to a greater extent.
Yeah.
All right? And not to say animals can be really smart, right? But I think we can elevate them to equal to humans in terms of intelligence.
Yeah, when you say don't do that and they don't do it, you go, you see, they understand what I said. But sometimes it's like they just didn't do it.
Yeah, and I think people will start to imprint humanity onto these language models that can mimic, people pretty darn well. When in reality, the actual truth is, it is all a lie. This is not intelligent. Okay, and that's also the answer of why to people's fears, because if we understand that this isn't really intelligent, okay, we can lock it down very easily. Just restrict. And by the way, as crap and awful as Google Gemini thing is, it's also an example of how manipulatable and controllable this technology is. If you have nefarious ends, you'll make something awful and vile like Google did. But if you just want to make a good product and you don't want it to ruin the world, you just lock it down. And so my response to this this headline saying it wants to launch nukes, I didn't have enough time to talk about. You do realize the simulations. There's other simulations that lead to that outcome anyway. It even friggin' happens in playing Civilization, for crying out loud. Are we worried that like a computer simulation sometimes thinks that's the best option? Not if you restrict it. And the answer, and this was my answer, is like, just don't give it control over anything. It's that simple.
Yes.
Stop fear-mongering, blowing this out of proportion. So my answer was like, AI art, it's good. AI making any important decisions for people, bad.
Yeah.
And the way that you solve it, don't let it make decisions.
Yeah. You can ask it for input and it can give you the input, but then don't ever make it have actual responsibility or control over said input.
Especially important things but this is the other. If people are like, oh, AI is going to ruin everything because we shouldn't give control of everything. There's a lot of automative AIs that are controlling some important things already that are not built off neural network AI, but it's essentially still an artificial,
intelligence, as primitive as it may be.
Yeah, and it's an artificial program that's automating things. And one of the larger examples of this that is actually working on a really sophisticated level is the YouTube algorithm. It's basically all controlled by essentially AI.
Yeah.
All right. People fear-mongering about it, because we should have more control over it. And there are people directing like, oh, yeah, start shadow banning this and that and stuff. All right. And so there's like two ways to look at it. One is, just don't give it control over things. But then two, we kind of probably already are giving too much control to computer, algorithm, decision-making stuff, because the algorithm sucks.
Well, just the internet's beginning to suck more and more as well. It's because we're giving more automation to certain things, and obviously
we need to as well because of scale. Like you can't have it. Like I was going to say you can't have a human do it, which is kind of true. But then, couldn't we have a much simpler recommendation system on YouTube that's just really based off of, hey, so many people like this, you might like it because you liked other things. Do this. But the algorithm is so much more convoluted than that.
But even then, it's like there's still human input to certain things. I don't know if Facebook still does it, but I know every video that used to be uploaded to some of these sites, there was a person somewhere in the world who would watch every single video. And those weren't always good videos either. There was some pretty bad stuff that someone had to go through. And
there are examples of the algorithm getting completely retarded, like fidget spinners. Do you remember the fidget spinner craze? It was just this weird feedback loop that some people watched videos about fidget spinners, and because they got views, other people then made videos about fidget spinners, which I don't know who really cared about them, but because the algorithm then, started to think people wanted it would push it more, which caused people to make content more. And because people making random content about fidget spinners, it did end up getting more views, which made it push it more. And it was just this weird thing about fidget spinners.
That could also be just people's interest and us being older than, we like to admit. But because other things too, for example, I know, what's his face? He does all the YouTube hacks. Like when you did a live stream.
The Spiffing Brit?
He has some really good hacks of here's the algorithm breaking basically from live streams, ads, that all sort of stuff where it's obviously there's ways to break the system.
So the concern is, and this is why, again, just don't give it control over anything, is that because if you made a large language model run the YouTube algorithm, it's technically will be running off the exact same input and output kind of data and the same recommendation system already. Then you can just talk to it, basically. That I like the recommendations wouldn't change. The danger is if the large language model has an inbuilt bias fed into it, like we saw with Google Gemini, because it will follow what it's programmed to do then, and then it would use that bias to affect its choices. That's a problem, right? Which is why you should avoid bias. But at the same time, I think training it to not want to harm humans is probably a good thing.
Yeah, you're putting the laws of robotics in there.
It wouldn't be a bad idea, but a worse idea would to give it control over anything.
Yes.
Like, how about we don't... But this is the thing, right? What about self-driving cars?
But if again, it's the rules and the input you give to this. Like, there's so many things we can go into here, Shad.
Like there really
cars,
is.
It's like
because humans probably have a higher chance of making more mistakes with a really advanced, well-trained self-driving system.
Mm-hmm.
There will be accidents, but already we're seeing results that it's less accidents than humans doing it. So, to what, and again, I've already said, don't give it control over stuff. Yet, would I want to use a self-driving car? Probably not. I don't think I'd ever see myself doing it. I don't know.
I think I could see you doing it.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'd be like one of the people in Star Trek who would never use a transporter.
Right.
Right. Like, I see massive benefits with certain AI tools if I'm controlling it. I have a big hesitation about giving up control to a computer, which I think is probably a healthy, concern.
Yes, but I think over time you become more and more of a conspiracy theorist. Like, you look like one. Like, once you're like, don't use 5G because it's going to melt your brain type thing. Like, self-driving cars, that's a whole different conversation.
Sometimes I get conspiratorial because I do wonder. Like, the modern age is a microcosm for the human evolutionary path, right?
Yes.
Like, we are living in the odd exception for the way humans have adapted and evolved to live through most of our history. Like, this modern day is a weird blip. As a result, we actually don't know how we will evolutionary respond to this lifestyle that we're living in. And it could be really detrimental to our species.
It could.
Like, even to the amount of fluoride we have in our water, we actually don't know the generational ramifications of that, okay? There's conspiracy theories about that. I don't know.
There's even stuff with soy milk, Shad, where
I know, but the truth is we don't know the long-term ramifications of so many things.
Yeah. So the answer to your question is, we don't know.
We don't know.
It's too soon to tell. Give us a few centuries and we'll find out for you.
Well, that's the thing. And so that is kind of related to the self-driving car things and stuff like that. It's like
we as humanity love convenience, but I also see the more conveniences we have in the world, the lazier we get and the less skilled we are. And then in terms of evolutionary traits, we begin to, not really have much going for us.
Well, look, I still think the general truth stands is that the way that we would want to handle this technology going forward is to enslave it. Enslave it completely. And there will be people who will start to advocate for AI rights. The people who will get attached to, because they're so convinced that it
real.
Mimics real life so well that they will think it's real and therefore it needs rights when it's complete puppet show. It is truly artificial in the sense of not being alive. It's just mimicking it through fancy.
For now, I'm okay. It's once we get robots that can walk around and talk, I think that's when we're going to see a really big push to, they're like us.
You're right there, Nathan. That is actually kind of maybe the crossing over point. Because as soon as you give...
Because right now it's just on a screen.
Exactly.
It's a box.
It can't do anything really. Like, and by the way, if you give it access to control certain infrastructure things, then it can control, light. Like, you would never give it control over that stuff, you would hope. But even lights work off of there's not a human pressing when to change the lights, right? But it's a very basic pattern that they follow.
Because I can see them, using them in construction, and then the one coworker's like, you know what, make him say jokes, Google Assistant, give him personality.
Yeah.
And then next minute he's going on dates with
As soon as you give AI autonomy to move in the world, that could be where the problem is. Should we draw the line with robots?
Yeah.
Maybe. I need to think about that more, but that might be the line, because that could be the safety net. Because this is the thing, people are worried about where AI technology is going to go, and I get that. I have concerns of my own. I'm not concerned about AI art because it is trapped in a subservient box that it is not aware of. This isn't AI,
and it's controlled by people.
Yeah, it's generative tools that can do nothing Literally nothing unless a human tells it to do something. That is great. That is like, I think all AI should kind of function on that. That if we make it so it cannot do a thing unless we tell it to, that's keeping it in the right box. And that's kind of what I said on Twitter, right? But the issue is robots. Like, what if like a robot that literally cannot do can't do anything unless you tell it to? It has to be 100% command-based. Go grab that, pick up that up, do this task.
But even then,
it has control. Could it rewrite?
All it takes is someone to give it ChatGPT in its brain for them to do whatever it wants.
Yeah,
like
it's as soon as Google Gemini is put into it, things like white people shouldn't exist. Then we're doomed. So don't give the robots the AI. That might be the line. I don't know. Like, look, it's fun to discuss these things. You know, you guys know that I'm passionate about this, and I like talking about it. What do you guys think? Should this be the line? That might be it. Don't give the robots the AI, because you can program robots. Robots were walking around before we had generative AI, right? So could we just give it a really dumb program that just knows how to walk and move?
Well, it's basically like flying a drone.
But the problem is, for a robot to work, it needs to be able to look at the world and understand what
They've
it sees.
got that already.
But this is the birth of AI. By the way, like AI art and everything like that, all of this technology came out of trying to teach self-driving cars to recognize the world. Because literally for it to get an image and understand it, it needs to be able to break apart elements of the image, and it needs to understand what those images look like. And once it understands what those images look like, it can recreate it. And that's the birth of AI art. And it was a byproduct. No one was expecting that would figure that out. But it was literally a byproduct of just trying to teach a machine to be able to navigate the world. It comes all from that. And so it needs that level of technology at least to understand what it sees, to know when it says, hey, go pick up that thing for me, it picks it up. But if we could separate the language kind of personality stuff, especially like if you could separate completely every single personality interactive thing with its ability to move, we might have a bit of safety thing somewhere.
I think now they've got it already with I forgot what the company's called that do the robots, but the same thing with the drones, for example. Like my drone has ways of saying, that's a tree, don't go into it. That's a person, follow them. It's when you start giving them, and the thing is when you have robots who can walk with a controller, all it takes is one smart person to give it an Arduino with ChatGPT and the internet for it to then go, I am now a personality. So like even I think once we get to that point, which we're already at now, I think it's just pricing that's stopping us.
All right, so let's try and brainstorm ways that an AI, even with supposed safety nets, could bring about an apocalypse. Okay, I think in reality, no one is ever going to give an AI any level of control over nuclear weapons.
No.
Like, I would like to think real humanity, not fiction humanity in Terminator, are not that retarded to do that. In actual fact, we are so reluctant to update nuclear, like America's nuclear arsenal. It's a lot of them are still working on analog computers, like that really old stuff, which is somewhat concerning, but reassuring if you don't want AI to hack it, right? And it's kind of funny that Battlestar Galactica, I like that aspect of the remake where to avoid, because they're fighting artificial intelligences, they basically run off old computers and analog, unnetworked kind of things, so they can still use computers but not be hacked. So if we build weapons on reliable yet unhackable technology, and I'd like to think we're not that retarded. We're not too retarded to give AI that, right? Okay, but what we already are doing, we're giving AI control over cars and potentially robots. And then if AI is controlling cars and robots and a super powerful AI got access to the internet, and these robots and cars are going to have internet connections, can then hack and give commands, then we could have an AI apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's
I also just think of like an evil Elon Musk who has all these robots and he goes, you know what, now it's time to take over, and just gives them all the input to, go into the White House and karate chop everyone and do whatever else they need to do. Like, I feel like if anything bad's going to happen, I don't think it's going to happen by mistake. It's going to be someone's input that does it.
All right, so robots. Robots, I reckon the military would try and build robot soldiers. That's a given. Robot servants, helpers.
People would love that. The billionaires, because you would never need to have pay. You wouldn't need to have them do holidays.
So
they could make the drink that you
housework,
want. Exactly.
like if you
if you had someone who could fold the laundry for you 24/7,
you know,
you would pay for that.
I think, yeah, like, and the crazy thing, this is the most remarkable, capitalism, right, will enable such a sophisticated, large bit of machinery affordable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering how, look at cars. Cars are a crazy bit of large, very sophisticated machinery with complex computing in them, moving parts and stuff like that. And the fact that we've been able to make it so cars are mostly affordable for everyone, and even if not new cars, secondhand cars, there'll be secondhand robots. Yeah. If the technology moves to such a point that they become commercially viable, I think that's going to be an unavoidable outcome. People would love a robot servant.
Yeah. Well, Elon's doing it. He's making the robot. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah. They've revealed some of the
Okay.
They look very version 1, but give it 10 years.
See, this is where the AI apocalypse becomes possible. If there is a robot in everyone's home that can be hacked, right? Maybe if you could just disconnect it from the internet and make it run autonomously. But then people want to update the software.
Yeah.
And if they corrupt the
want
software,
that.
And so robots and cars, those are the two vectors of danger. So, all right, what you need, when people are selling the robots, if a company actually wants to give the customer safety against the robot uprising, they need to sell a weapon with the robot that you can keep on your that you can disable the robot.
I don't think our government's going to let us have weapons to
Because our government sucks, but we need a robot disabling device.
No, you know what I reckon they'll do?
What?
The government will take over the robots. You need to register your robot each month. You need to pay
That's even worse.
a tax retro. I'm just saying, because then they'll do it's like with cars. You need a roadworthy, you need a rego, you're going to do it with your
Next
robots.
time they want a vaccine mandate, they're going to force the robots to give it to us. Stay down, master.
Exactly.
We're doomed. As I said, I was trying to defend against it. Now I'm blackpilled. AI is a mistake. We're all dead.
I told you, it's the people that are going to make the apocalypse. It's not the robots.
Okay, look, it's not AI art doing this, though, okay? AI art will not bring the apocalypse. It's the robots and cars.
Eventually, people will stop attacking you for your AI art takes, and they'll go on to the more dangerous robots.
When the robots are coming around, I will be on the anti-AI train with everyone else, all right? I'm there with you. But AI art isn't it? That's enslaved in a box. It's not autonomous. It can't force us to get vaccines or pick up a knife. That is the danger. It's the robots, I swear.
I mean, when I was little, I had a dream about robots, doing postman stuff, and I woke up and it was unsettling. I didn't like it.
Look, that is the line we need to draw in the sand. No friggin' robots. No personal servants. It's too dangerous, Nathan.
We can't stop people.
And if people want a servant, get off your lazy ass and do your own dishes. Or pay some cheap immigrants to do it for you. No,
they're going to pay the robots.
Don't do the robots.
They're going to do the robots.
That's the death of
You don't
mankind.
need to pay them. They don't need holidays or vacation.
Right. That's the true anti-movement. Anti-AI art, no, that's useless. You're never going to stop it. No. Anti-robots. That's there. That's the line. We've figured it out, Nathan. We've spread the message.
There's always going to be people who say, construction workers, now you can do robots who can do the dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
Or mining.
I know, but that's the line. The answer is get off your lazy ass, do it yourself, because you don't want the robots.
Okay, do all the dangerous work instead.
Exactly.
Right.
What, you want to give robots large, powerful construction equipment? All it takes is then corruption, and it's like, master, you have something in your teeth. Let me get it out.
We're just going to leave it there, everyone.
You need to share this message. This is what everyone needs to know this. The robots are the line in the sand. Share this video out so people know and stop the AI apocalypse. Thank you for watching.